Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Titus Andronicus, and we are in the midst of the really gory part of the play. I'm sorry, but it's bad at this point. Lavinia has been mutilated, Lucius has been banished, Titus's other two sons, Marcius and Quintus, have been sentenced to death because they supposedly killed Basanius, which they didn't actually do. That was Chiron and Demetrius. And Titus has now seen his daughter and is lamenting the fact that she has no tongue and that these woes just seem to be sort of overtaking him, and every time he thinks that there's going to be a little bit of a break, some new horrible thing happens. But then Aaron the Moor came in and was like, Titus, Saturnius says that he will release your sons if either you or Marcus Andronicus or Lucius gives him your hand, cut off your hand and send it to him. So the three of them are like, take my hand, no, take my hand. And finally Titus is like, all right, it won't be my hand. You two figure out which one of you is going to give up your hand. And Marcus and Lucius go to find an axe. Meanwhile, like, they're off stage for a second. Meanwhile, Titus is like, Aaron, take my hand now, cut it off. So Aaron does. He cuts off Titus's hand and is like, all right, I'll be back with your sons. But then in an aside to the audience is like, actually just their heads, because they're already dead. And he leaves. And once Aaron is gone, Titus, it's sort of like he wants a moment to just reflect and be sad, and Lavinia comes over to him and he's like, let's just sit here and sigh so hard that we destroy the heavens and that sort of a thing. And Marcus is like, don't you think that's like make me taking it a little too far? And Titus is like, what, I don't have a right to be extremely sad at this point? And Marcus is like, yeah, but like, be reasonable about your grief, which is a reasonable thing to say to somebody in Titus's position. But anyway, he's like, let there be some reason behind your misery. And Titus responds, if there were reason for these miseries, then into limits could I bind my woes. When heaven doth weep, doth not the earth o'erflow? If the winds rage, doth not the sea wax mad, threatening the welkin with his big swollen face? And wilt thou have a reason for this coil? I am the sea. Hark how her sighs do flow. She is the weeping welkin, I the earth. Then must my sea be moved with her sighs. Then must my earth with her continual tears become a deluge, overflowed and drowned. For why, my bowels cannot hide her woes, but like a drunkard must I vomit them. Then give me leave, for losers will have leave to ease their stomachs with their bitter tongues. So he's still going with this ocean metaphor, but basically what he's saying is, if any of the things that happen to me right now made any sort of sense, then maybe I could compartmentalize. But if you just look around at nature, you can't have the sky rain without it impacting the earth. You can't have the sea going crazy without it impacting the sky. And he's like, I'm the sea, and my daughter here, who's weeping for her brothers and for her husband and has no tongue and no hands, she's the sky. So the fact that she's sad makes me more sad, and then me being more sad makes her more sad. It's this vicious cycle and downward spiral of grief that they're in. So he's lamenting that and trying to put the depth of this grief in perspective when a messenger comes in with the heads of Marcus and Quintus and Titus's hand. And this messenger doesn't stay very long, just long enough to say, sorry, you've been tricked, here's your son's heads, and just to be even more rude to you, here's your hand back, bye-bye. So then we get a whole other slew of, oh my goodness, I didn't know that my grief could fall so deep. Some of that coming from Marcus at this point too. He's like, I thought that I was as sad as I could get. And then, the hits just keep on coming. And Titus is like, yeah, at this point, I just wish that I could be dead. Like, can I just be dead at this point? And Marcus finally finally gets to the point of, like, okay, get it, but all of this misery, all of these woes need to spurn us to action. Now, we can't just sit and wallow and be mired in this. We need to do something about it. And Titus laughs. And Marcus is like, why are you laughing? And we will get the answer to that question in tomorrow's monologue. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.